Okay, well look, what we'd like to talk to you guys today about is our preservative-free wines, because they're a couple of very unique wines, very specific in who we're targeting. We're targeting people here who have allergies to sulphur dioxide, and sulphur dioxide is a common additive in wine as an antimicrobial and antioxidant. There's without doubt a niche market and a need for these wines in the marketplace. I think I probably get an email maybe every 2 or 3 weeks from somebody just saying thank you because they've discovered these wines. And I guess for people who are able to drink wines with sulphur dioxide, you sort of take for granted the social occasion and sharing a glass of wine with family and friends. And of course, people that have allergies to sulphur dioxide, they're largely excluded from these events. So we regularly get these emails with people just saying thank you, because now I can sit and enjoy a glass of wine with my friends and family on social occasions and festivities and the like, and it really means a lot to them. So those people are really missing out on one of life's great pleasures, and we think we have the solution to that problem.
Yeah. Just tell you, there are people who do suffer from allergies to sulphite. They can have asthma, hives, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, seizure, anaphylactic shock, dizziness and skin disorders. So the web, I get this off the web. Personally, I get an itchy nose, and it's enough to get me interested in making wine without sulphite. In the middle of the night thing. There are many sources of sulphite in food. Many foods have got them, so you won't escape it, even if you don't drink wine. Cookies, crackers, dried fruits and vegetables, pie crust, and so it goes on. Again, you can pick it up on the web. It's often thought that perhaps if you buy a wine that's organic, you'll get a wine that's sulphite-free. That's not the case. Because the organic protocols allow people to use sulphur dioxide in winemaking. So there is a clear distinction to be made here. If one is concerned about health issues, there's much more interest to be had in a wine that is preservative-free or sulphite-free than in an organic wine. I don't think there's any case where it's been proved that there's a substance caused a problem in a person due to something that has been picked up by a plant that was used on the farm. Certainly not in winemaking anyway. Okay, the other thing is you might be interested in how we go about this process of making wine without sulphites. It's something that I would reckon any winemaker should learn how to do to inform his winemaking process. At the crush, we are using grapes that are as undamaged as possible. So these grapes are picked by hand, and they are transported in small containers to the winery with as little juicing as possible. So the care begins in the vineyard. We're lucky here because there's very little damage, and this is the situation across the whole of Australia really because of the dry climate. So that's a big help, and I think if we hadn't had that possibility of very clean grapes, we wouldn't be making sulphur dioxide free wines today. Once we get past the crush, it becomes a bit more interesting. I'll let Mark do the explaining.
Well, I think ultimately in making these wines, it just takes a great deal of care. Sulphur dioxide is an antimicrobial and an antioxidant. Means there's a bit of a fallback position if you pick up oxygen or there's a microbial contamination. So we really don't have the luxury of that with these wines, and we have to be super careful about how we make the wines. So we become paranoid about everything that involves oxygen, particularly, and it really basically has given us a much better understanding of the points where oxygen can pick up and damage a wine, and that's really, I think, ends up affecting all of our wines because we really improve our skills and knowledge, and we can apply that to all of the wines. But great deal of care, lots of measurements, and really being sure that we know that we can exclude oxygen in each part of the process, and particularly bottling. It's very hard to fill up an empty bottle like this. It obviously is full of oxygen when you start. Most bottling lines have a system to try and remove some of the oxygen. We've actually got a very good bottling line that's able to remove almost all of the oxygen. So I guess that's the great thing about it is just being very, very careful and really making sure you don't assume anything.
Okay, probably the thing that's of interest to most people who would consider buying a bottle of wine like this is the shelf life. The most potent preservative in wine is alcohol, 15%, and tannin in the case of red wines. The extra tannin will give the red wine a life in excess of what we'll have in the white wine. We think 2 or 3 years with the white wine. With the red, we see no reason to imagine that it shouldn't live as long as any other red wine. Because really, red wine, I can explain the point about how you lose that sulfur dioxide and the efficacy of sulfur dioxide almost within a year or two.
Yeah, and I mean, look, also under screw cap, which makes a big difference to the wine. I mean, once the wine has been sterile filtered and under screw cap, there's very little opportunity for oxygen to get through to the wine. There's a very low oxygen transmission rate, so they do keep much better than most people think. And if you compare that to conventional wine, that sulfur dioxide actually does decline. So a lot of wines after 3 and 4 years of age actually have very little sulfur dioxide left in them anyway. And so we've sort of got the wine to bottle like that, and it does age surprisingly well. And I think you could quite comfortably recommend 5 years for the red under screw cap. I don't think that's an issue at all.
Okay, I think we've covered the points.
Well, there's actually one other thing that I was just thinking of then as well, and I do get a few phone calls about from people who are vegans and want to make sure that we've used no animal products in these wines, and that's also the way we approach this. So yes, there is no sulfur dioxide, but we also don't have any. We don't use things like egg whites or gelatine or any of those sort of animal-based products as well. So it is something that we also get inquiries about, and I can absolutely guarantee you that there's none of those type products in the wine as well.
If you're interested in the technical details, there's a lot more information on our website. There's a whole tab there devoted to preservative-free wines. Catch you later.